Welcome to Can Angels Fly Tarot. I'm Nancy, and today I'm here to perform another Aquarius rant. What can I say? I won't be talking about any tarot in this video. I almost said live stream in this video. Truly, it is an Aquarius rant from my perspective, and I don't have any desire to talk about tarot, at least not, in a general sense. Maybe it might come up as I just, rant. But personally, I'm like really going through something, and I've been going through something for a while, if you follow me. And what I'm going through has to do with the work that I do here on my channel, or at least what I share here on my channel. As my title of my page says, or the name of my page says, it is a tarot channel. And so I deal with the tarot for the very simple, answers and scenarios to our common concerns in life. But where I am on a personal level, I think is a little more complicated or complex than our basic everyday scenarios that play out. I know you've heard it before. Life is merely a play and something like that, and only thing that happens, life is merely a play, and all of the characters are the same or something, and it's just however it goes. People just change in and out of, y'all know what I'm talking about, in and out of existence, play the same roles over and over again. So that's what tarot talks about and refers to or deals with at any given time period based on whatever we have going on, socially, whatever our structures are that are governing us, our standards and those kind of things. And so I say that's pretty simple, as long as you understand the state of the world and you in relationship to the world. That's kind of easy. What I'm dealing with personally is, again, it seems to be a little more complicated and it's taxing. And so I'm just here to share with those of you that are interested in, diving a little deeper. And I have to say this here, things can get misconstrued because we people in the world have different religious preferences and different stuff like that. And I bring up the differences primarily religious because a lot of people look at divination and other art forms or studies, areas of studies, as demonic or satanic. And so what I'm going to talk about in this video as I rant is it's to the naked eye, to the untrained eye, to those that are more involved in the more simplistic part of life, may see this as more demonic or something like that, what I'm going to talk about here. And it's no order to this. Right now, I have no order going on at all. It's just a lot of things. I've been writing. I had planned to do a video and premiere it, but I kind of feel overwhelmed right now. And then I started on another layout, and I pushed that to the side of feeling overwhelmed, and I start on another and another. So I've started like about 4 or 5 different outlines for 4 or 5 different themes or topics or subject matters. And again, I'm overwhelmed because it's like, where do I go now? Do I continue to just do simple or simplistic tarot readings about the very common threads that we experience here in this reality? Or do I continue to advance Do I continue to advance and share what I know? I want to stop here. Today, I got just overwhelmed with this need to upgrade my Comcast. It's funny how this life works. I just wanted to upgrade my Comcast, and I did, which is the cable company. If you don't know, if you're not from this area, and upon upgrading my cable service, I got this channel called FX, and on FX is the American Horror Story. Now, in a previous Aquarius rant, I covered the American Horror Story like maybe a month ago. It was the first time I was introduced to it. I had heard about it. I had never seen it. And a month ago, I watched it. And I was blown away at the context of the whole thing. I binged watched. And I talked about that a little bit. And what I was saying then was like, dang, everything I've ever shared here on this channel was what was offered in those previous seasons. I think 1 through 7 of American Horror Story. It like blew my mind. And what I was saying to those that viewed that video, I was like, hey, that just reiterates and supports my belief that we all know who. When I say all, who am I talking about? I'm talking about every man, woman of a certain level of intelligence is aware of what is actually taking place. And I was able to say that because I realized, I was like, I don't have books. And when I say I don't have books, I'm talking from a financial standpoint, from a financial position. I can't buy all these metaphysical books people talk about. I just in the last year started branching out, watching YouTube channels, very different YouTube channels. I didn't even know how to access them. But what I noticed is as I progress with my personal channel, that whenever I make a video on a particular topic, however YouTube has their, I guess their voice recognition, automation, whatever it is, set up. When I'm doing the videos, they pick up on the themes that I talk about, the subject matters that I talk about, and then after that, they suggest videos for me to watch. I've talked about this a little bit before because that disturbed me. Because I'm sitting up here, put myself out there to the world, people, to my viewers and subscribers, going deeper than just tarot. Because to me, this stuff is real. It's serious. It's serious. And I share, I got where I am through, studying and through life. That's it. That's it. And that's why I say we all know what's been going on. We might not be able to accept the truth or acknowledge it, but we know. We know. Anyway, this is a rambling rant. I'm just talking because I'm wondering, how far do I go? How far do I go? Let me finish my thought. What was I just talking about? I want to finish my thought. Yeah, the seasons 1 through 7 of American Horror Story covered everything I've covered on my channel thus far, and basically in the same sequence, which lets me know that people know in various walks of life, from those that have the money and the social outreach and the outlet to express themselves creatively. What is it called? Creating a form of art, which is what do you call it? The cinema, in order to present life. And me here on a very basic level, being able to come up with the exact same storyline and information that is contained in the storyline and presented here on YouTube is something that lets me know that we know what's going on. I guess most of us can't handle it or don't know what to do. And why am I rambling about that now? Why is it important? It's because, again, going back to every time I create a video and I upload it, then all of a sudden I get these suggestions for videos that are covering the same topics or quite similar topics to what I cover. And a lot of them are their presentation, the creator's presentation, are much more complex or sophisticated than my own. And so I'm like, these everybody know. And they just, you know, I guess depending on the resources again a person has or the outreach they have or the level of creativity they have, that's what they put behind their work. It don't matter how the message is delivered though. It's all telling the same story. It's the exact same storyline. It's in the exact same order. And again, that leads me to know and understand that every individual in humanity understands the course that we are on as far as our existence in this physical world. Now, it could be possibly once again that a person has hit a certain level of intellect, or two, they just don't want to deal with it, or three, they're confused about what they are seeing or experiencing. Again, life is an excellent teacher, and so again, this is a tarot channel. This is my dilemma stressor. It's just a tarot channel. However, I clearly see the depth of, I'll say, divination. And I see how religion has blocked the general populace from being able to see and accept and really do something about our existence in this world, our experience in this world, and as well as where we're headed. And so, if this is categorized this channel, and its contents is categorized under entertainment, tarot readings for entertainment purposes only. You got to take in consideration the law. That's the structure. But the truth of the matter is, for me anyway, it is, again, it's an art that can be mastered. The tarot is the simple part, the very simplistic part. But it's all the studies that are necessary to be able to see the scenario, see the possibility. And I talked about this before as well. It is about keeping up with history. It is about current events. It is about politics. It is about the law. It is about language. It's about everything that you've come in touch with. It is about education. Yes, even education is important. I've talked about it. It's like the downside to education is that our system is not set up to allow a person, any individual, to gather too much information. So you must prove yourself one stage at a time in order to advance. And you usually only get to choose one field in which you have the opportunity to master yourself in. And it's always for the sole purpose of maintaining a particular lifestyle, or securing your physical longevity in this life. And so, what am I talking about? I'm talking about how most men and women never come to understand exactly why we are prompt to be educated. Now, I didn't see it either. I share that here too. I was just like naive, and I just kept asking why. If you pay attention to any of the live streams I do, even when I do the tarot readings, you'll always hear me pose questions. Why? Because that's what those questions need to be answered in order for us to what? Be able to see what's really taking place. Now, when I say see what's taking place, that can be, you can look at it as foretelling, prediction. What's the rest of them? I don't know the rest of the labels. But you know what I'm saying, to be able to see. Whether it's in our own personal life or globally, to see. There's certain information that you need to acquire. But then there are also the more, sensory means in order to see into the future. Sensory means like your hearing or smelling or tasting, or let's say seeing, hearing, tasting, even feeling. Anything that inputs the outer world inside of you so you can process it. is a means in which to gather information. See, it's all about gathering information, whether you're sensing it through vibration, acquiring it through one of your five senses, acquiring knowledge through your mind or through communication. It is all there to help build up what many call your intuition, so that you can begin to see ahead in order to make the decisions that you need to make for your well-being, as well as the worldly experience. And why am I rambling off on that area or in that area? It's because it's like where I want to go. You know, right now, again, I'm just ranting and rambling. But I take this seriously, is what I was going to say when I start talking about the law and how this is categorized as entertainment and for entertainment purposes only, which it is to a degree. I'll say to a degree. Of course, should always consult professionals like doctors, because they've been educated and become proficient in a particular area. So yes, you should still see the doctor. You should still see the psychiatrist. All of those experts you should see. But foretelling and seeing is a way for us to understand the realm that we live in. We take our life here for granted. When I say for granted, I mean we don't understand that in order for us to be successful in this life, whether on an individual basis, as a couple, a family unit, as a community, or whatever, all the way up to global, that you must understand this realm. And that goes back to why I was talking about religion. How religion has us believing that all of this stuff is spookism, is satanic, is demonic. And the truth of the matter is, no, it is a gathering of information about this realm so that you understand where you are, what you're dealing with, and your power in this place, as well as other people's power outside of your place. And what the potential is for the coming together of those forces and or the clashing of those forces. What am I rambling about? I'm rambling about how deep to go. How much do I share? Do I continue to even share? Because as I stated early on and in other videos in the past, hey, every time I make a video, I get this whole thing of suggested videos that have to do with the same subject matter in which I'm covering. So is it worth it? Is it worth it to share? See, when I started this YouTube channel, I knew I wasn't the only person, but I thought I would be, it would be helpful. Because again, when I was young, I was so stupid and naive, it was ridiculous. And it just seems like the world is getting further and further and further from clarity, closer and closer to money and riches and fame and popularity and things like that, things of the flesh, but further and further away from a hearty soul, a healthy disposition, a positive disposition, a soul, a positive soul, a divine soul, getting far away from that. See, that might be too deep for some folk, to some folk. But then is it? I ask that because, again, there are a lot of people making these videos. And again, they are creators. They have their own unique sense of fabulous self-expression that they present into the world. Presenting life in an art form, in the various art forms as the medium. In this case, we're talking about kind of like cinema, I guess, making videos and blogs and things like that. And so in this video, as I move through doing my rant, because I'm once again going through something as I advance, I want to talk about a few things because I don't think that I'm going to create the premiere that I had planned to do. There's a lot of things I'm not going to do. It's not things. But what I want to talk about right now is I enhanced my cable package, it added new channels. On one of those channels, FX, it's the American Horror Story going into a new season that I've never seen. So I go watch that, and hot dang, same thing. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. I gotta say, it's the same thing, and that bothers me because how long has it been since they made this? I know it's just the season started not too long ago, but they had to sit up and write the script, cast the script, and then shoot the scenes. And so that, what am I saying? These people that the creators of American Horror been knew this stuff years ago in order to have it out now. And then, like I said, whenever I make a video on any subject matter, a whole bunch of recommendations about the same subject matter pop up. And it has to do with who we are, not only physically, but as spiritual entities. How deep do I go? Do I personally possess something that I can offer you, the viewer, that can be beneficial to you? Or am I merely a drop in an ocean of information? Ocean of information. Again, this is an Aquarius rant, because I feel some type of way about all that I'm experiencing. So first I want to talk about this current American Horror Story season. Is it 8, I think? I've just been scribbling everywhere because I've been blown away. I've been binge watching this one too. And again, it was just through me because I just did several videos or live streams back to back. Didn't get many views on the one that was called Purple Panic. Purple Panic, I'm not even going to go into what the videos that I'm about to talk about are about, but the same things that I covered in those videos were covered in this most recent season of American Horror Story. And my video is called The Purple Panic. And it's that color. It's that color. In the course of my research, that color purple came up. Right after I made that video, a video appeared in a recommendation. This one had to do with strange weather and how different people in different parts of the United States were reporting a purple-filled sky, showing their videos. And I was like, wow. Then the purple has come up several times while watching this American Horror Story. I'm like, wow. Something about that purple. Now, I researched so much, and I flip from one subject matter to another, and one subject matter leads me to another, and I go back to the point I get lost in all of these papers, and I bottle them up, and I cast them, and I throw them, and I write, and I try to keep my notes that I want to cover, when I create the videos or have the live streams, and I set it to the side. So a lot of information is lost. I try so hard to compress and condense them, condense the information in order to deliver the message. But that purple what is a powerful color, and it has a significance to where we are headed. And so I brought all that rambling up right there is because I don't even understand the line that I followed to get to the color purple. I do know it was about I'll say this: the purple represents the time period that we are going to enter if we stay on the same timeline. And you think about it, purple is red and blue mixed. It's the darkening of red, and the red corresponds to the root chakra, the base. And the root is talking about survival. It talks about those urges. It points to the urge, the demi-urge, Satan, and those kind of things. Our carnal lust and desires and wants and needs. I talk about that all the time here. And so it's the darkening, taking it to the extreme, those very root needs, desires, urges, compulsions, and so I do know it was something like that. And so it ends up taking the root chakra, which is red, meaning you still can tame it. You can still climb up, the chakra, activating them and balancing oneself in order to contain that lower energy in nature. And in this ramble, I'm just kind of going deep, throwing out where I'm headed. Yeah, I'm where I'm headed. Why am I headed there? It's due to my whole collective life experience. Everything I've had in my fairly insignificant life. I have come to know these things, to see these things through my life experiences, whether I was a witness or a person that had to be involved in whatever circumstance or situation with whatever people. I've learned these things that I share here on YouTube. I don't just be talking out the side of my neck. I try to present the information in a way that people understand it, because we've been living this stuff out forever. Is that a bug? I think that's a bug. Y'all gonna have to give me a minute, because I really think that's a bug. And a very strange bug. Is that? Apologies, it's nighttime. I thought it was a feather. I don't know, a feather something, not a pillow or something, but. Okay, where was I? Where was I? What was I? American Horror Story. This last season, I think it's season 8. It's called American Horror Story Apocalypse. As mentioned, the videos that I've made are the same. It's the same. Oh, the topics that are covered in the videos that I've made and the live streaming that I made directly correspond to that which has been covered in the American Horror Story. And guess what, y'all? This can't be no coincidence. It's in sequence. It's in straight sequence. The same way they sequence those stories from the very first series up into the current is the same sequence in which I've introduced what I've learned in the course of my life to y'all. That's impossible coincidence. And so I wonder, I had to sit down today and I was thinking, I was like, I went back to childhood, like, when is the first programming that I can remember that would begin to create this illusion or this tale or this story in my mind. I was looking for anything that has made an impression upon me. I know my life experiences, every last one of them, down to a detail. But I was like, how is it that the sequence is the same, covering the same information is the same. The presentation, again, the art is different because it's different creators. It's different creators, again, with different resources. So the presentation, the final outcome is different. It's different. Anyway, another thing, other than the purple being a very significant color for the what we're headed toward experience if we stay on the same course, is they also talked about in the American Horror Story Apocalypse superpowers. It had to do with some witches and some warlocks and whatever else was out there. And all they kept talking about was the superpowers and the superpowers and the superpowers coming online. And so I'm just sitting up here like, I'm like, every time they open their mouth, every time I see them click, I'm like, because I just did a video not too long ago when I got sick and had to go to the hospital. And I said, hey, y'all, it appears to me, based on the astrological energy, the tarot readings, and my experience, humans, superpowers are coming online. They covered that too. And what they said, one of the things they said in one of the episodes, is this: superpowers are not what you think they are. It was something else, but it was saying superpowers are not what people think they are. Now, I have moved forth on my channel, and I may continue to try, but I don't know if it's working for the people that come to my channel. When I try to reveal the magical side of our existence, the spiritual side of our existence, that we take for granted because we execute these spells all the time. If you follow me, you might have heard me talk about, what was it? X, sexing, hexing, and texing. We cast these spells all the time. There are many videos on YouTube that talk about the various spells, and people, of course, come to you from different angles about them. That was just an example of the type of spells we cast. On my channel, I have talked about how it depends on which field of study you are engaged with, working with, or dealing with, which determines the language and the vocabulary that accompanies that particular area of study or focus. And it is important to understand the language of any given what area of study or focus or interest or whatever you're dealing with in order to be able to cast the spell as set forth by that cult or covenant. I talk about that too. This is something else that they covered in American Horror Story. I'm telling you, I'm blown away, y'all. It's like like I said, when I'm talking about the tarot, I'm talking about how simplistic tarot is. Hey, it is really helpful. It helps us organize our thoughts, focus, ask the hard questions we aren't able to ask, and those kind of things, and see various scenarios and get some resolve. Excellent tool, but we're not supposed to get stuck there. And that's what I notice is that a lot of people get stuck there, and are you getting stuck there? Not you, them other folks, some folks stuck there because you, not you, them, are really afraid to see the answers and the truth and the changes that we need to make on an individual level as well as a global level. Anyhow, I talked about when I was just talking about the superpowers, and I shared the superpower about transcending suffering. And I told you in that video, I ain't saying I don't want to suffer because I don't feel like if trying to transcend it, the power might fail me. I don't want it. I don't want it. However, I shared in that video there are a few superpowers I've been seeing myself execute as well as others. I've been witnessing it and I'm seeing it. And again, this American Horror Story really kept pressing it in. There are things that we are missing about ourselves, and that we don't know that we're missing about ourselves. Some of these superpowers. See, I don't have I do, but it takes a lot of energy to focus. I hope I can go there. I would like to go there a little bit during this rant. And when I'm saying go there, I'm talking about going into the space. Let me talk about the space. It's a space. It is a space. See, I was going to do a video about this. This is a space, a transcendental. It was a movie called Transcendental. What's the name? What was that guy name? The one that played Jack Sparrow in the Pirates of the Caribbean. Johnny Depp. I want to say it was called Transcendental, or something like that. The movie. And so you can transcend. I can't. How do I say this? Keep that in mind. I know I'm switching subjects. I'm just ranting because this is where I am in my evolution, in my gaining clarity, and me dealing with YouTube and tarot as entertainment when there's a lot more to be had and understood. I'll say it like that. Without any magic or religion or what else? Whatever. All that extra stuff. That extra stuff that makes it wrong. And if for these, what I'm talking about to be wrong, that means life overall will have to be wrong. We will all have to be wrong. And so I do want to go where I go sometimes. And I don't know if it will show in this video if I'm able to get to that place. And what place, best way I can define it, I did a video here about Jordan Peele's, that movie Sunken Place. That sunken place. I also did a video which talks about enhancing or activating your psychic abilities. in that sunken place, from that sunken place. Right now, where am I? Because that sunken place is a place that I shared that you, after you go through it yourself or whatever traumas you have, once you overcome that, that is a space within self, within consciousness, that you can go into and retrieve information. You can even find reprieve there. Yeah, reprieve from this insane world. This world is insane too. And I'm bringing up that sunken place because there's something, that sunken place. If you've seen the movie, you see the hypnotist push the main character back, the black guy, and he goes to fall. It's the fall. I want to talk about the fall. Why am I talking about this stuff in my rant? It's because it's a concern to me. Because in my studies, these are the things that are popping up, that it seems like, based on the information and the studies and all that I've experienced, yada yada yada, that these are things that divinity, whoever divinity is pointing out to humanity and saying, hey, look at this. Look at this. Understand this about this space that you are in and about who you are while you are in this space. And that sunken place, or the psyche, the subconscious, is a real plane. And that fall is real. And so I want to talk about the fall. And the best way I can articulate the fall is I need you to think about a bad time in your life. Examples of the fall can be if you were madly in love, you were in that relationship and the relationship broke for whatever reason, whether it was cheating, betrayal, lying, person bought you disease, whatever the case may be, the trust was broke, and you saw that there was no way that for some, you saw it was no way for recovery of that relationship. For some, you don't have to get to that place. You can stay in a relationship and still be in this place. That place, find that place. I need you to. I'm just trying to give you how to give you the concept or the understanding of the fall, because it's important. That place, I'm all over the place, y'all know. That place, upon understanding you've been betrayed, is that shattering of the glass right there. That place, that horrific feeling that made you sick, that made you feel like, I don't know what you had, these are examples, made you want to die. You couldn't believe it. You was in the sunken place. You were in hell. It was that fall, it was that immediate fall. Oof. It's like, we'll take a breath. And or, like I said, the relationship is dissolved and you see there's no reconciliation possible, and your heart breaking and you're sobbing and your eyes swell up and you can't catch your breath, and again, you're snotting, your hair standing up on top of your head, or you ain't shaved in forever, and you got the curtains closed and you're in the bed and you smell like crap. That fall right there, that right there. Or if you have an addiction to something like alcohol and you can't get it, like an alcoholic, and they can't get it. At that moment where they done scraped for every penny or every dollar, they done call everybody they know, they done bum, they done took bottles, whatever they needed to do to get their fix. And they still short and can't get it. They can't get it. And the urges start to demand to be fed. The compulsion demands to be fed. And you can't do nothing about it. You can't feed the urge. You can't feed the compulsions. That space right there is the fall. Same thing with any type of drug a person want to hit, can't get that hit, and you done did everything you can. You scraped up every penny, robbed whoever you had to rob, beg whoever you had to beg, took out whatever loan you had to take out, did trick, did whatever you got to do to acquire that substance or that drug or whatever the case is, and you ain't got enough money, you can't get it. And the urges start to complain and demand to be fed, and the urges bark and beckon, and you can't do nothing about it. Can't feed them to get them off your back. That space right there where, take your breath right there to fall. Other ways a person may experience that fall is cigarettes, even cigarettes. A person that smokes cigarettes and can't get a cigarette after you done scraped up your pennies, got your looses, smoked the bud, whatever the case may be, and you can't feed that urge or that compulsion. It comes a time, and see what ends up happening. Things are overlapping. Like for instance, the thoughts that you wanted, that you needed, you're busy trying to get whatever you need to get, scrape up what you need to scrape. At the same time, you feel the urge, and this is for any addiction. You feel the dissipation of them substances out of your body. The physical body start to contract, but inside there is a fall. We can't get your breath. That fall right there. It's a fall, and I don't know other examples to offer about the fall. The fall. It's like it's like this traumatic time. It's the immediate emotional response after the trauma. After the immediate emotional response, on the very end of it, is the trauma. It's that. I'm talking about the fall. I hope I made it make sense. Anyway, that fall right there. That fall is a state. We're talking spirituality now. Is a state of torture and torment. Torture and torment. As one would fall into a perpetual fall of the same feeling will repeat itself. Hell is repetition. And you have to, and then a person, not you, an individual, would have to go to battle with them spirits associated with whatever is begging to be fed or satisfied or pacified, I always say. You go to battle with them, saying no, fighting the physical symptoms, the mental obsession, and the fall itself. Fighting the compulsion is what we call it, and things like that. And the reason why I bring that up, because it's another part, and it has to do with that purple. I said purple passion, purple panic is the video I made, Purple Panic. This is also a theme that the American Horror Story covered, where heck, I don't watch so many now back to back today. I've been binge watching. It's almost the next day, but I had to stop to make this video, kind of get some things out of my mind, because it's like, how far do I go before I lose my all my subscribers? Again, it's the simple, it's the simplistic, it's the superficial. Superficial has its place, but this is bigger. What is happening in our world and in our lives is bigger. That's what I'm at the crossroads about. Do I pacify the simple, the superficial, and allow my channel to grow, or do I continue to move forward on the path in which I am being instructed to by the information that I find out through my studies and my own personal experiences, and share that information, understanding that there are other platforms out here and other creators that are sharing the same or similar information. I don't know. But anyway, I was talking about the fall, because the fall is a place, again, of torture and torment. And only if you can tap into the remembrance of that fall will you understand what I'm talking about. And I bring that up because the fall will be a part of that purple panic phase I'm suggesting that humanity will go through in the near and the distant future if we stay on the course that we are now. And that fall is not just one big fall. It's not always one big fall. A person can get deeper and deeper into something like alcohol, drugs, which is the perpetuation of feeding these entities and that we permit to possess us. And every time we go deeper with them and what satisfies them, it it bumps the fall, meaning that you gotta understand. You have to be a person that really resonates and can tap into that moment in order to understand what the fall is and the torture and torment, and how that is where the spiritual battle is right there. It's the overcoming right there. Um, when people speak of like exorcism, that is where the exorcism takes place at. That is where the mental, the psychiatric challenges. That's where the battle takes place at that bump or the bumping. Uh, it's a booming, not boom, bump, a dropping, a fall, and it can have I don't know, man, like I don't know if I can even draw it out. Let's say, well, that's pretty thick. I know this probably don't make no sense, but this would be considered the fall. This is that space that I described, associated with trying not having the capability to satisfy some urge or compulsion. And it's that moment that you can't do anything about it. And it's that battle that takes place in the physical. But then there's also one in like the hidden spaces or the spiritual realm. And then this would be like the initial fall, and it's perpetual, it's consistent. It doesn't break, and it's breathtaking, and not breathtaking. It is breathtaking in the physical. It's more or less trying to combat the combat the fall and the urge. And now I didn't do that good, but you see, I added another bump and another bump. And so what I'm saying there is, if a person like keeps indulging in something, and it depends on how deep a person has gone with something. I think this is more obvious when a person is addicted to like a harder drug or narcotic. That fall when they can't get the fix, and they get to that place. It's that initial bump, the initial fall, bump and fall, and it's perpetual, it's consistent fall, and it's physically even breathtaking. Trying to, is real minute that you wouldn't even notice it. But talking about a person that has that particular type of addiction, they may continue to go out and do various things in order to feed that particular beast, to keep that beast off their back, number one. And so, like robbing or killing or what else can you do? I don't know. Prostitution, all of those. When you can't satisfy the beast, all of those bumps, it's like a ripple, but it's a continuous fall at the same time. It's almost like being pulled down or cascaded, and that is a descent, and it's a descent into hell. Hell is a bottomless pit, and it plays in the physical, but it also plays what we call the mind, that bridge between, it plays between the mind, in the mind as well, which is the bridge between the physical and the spiritual realm. But that bump is in, or that fall is not in the mind itself. It is not in the physical. Neither is it, divinity. It is a person, the individual, literally falling or descending into a bottomless pit, or through a bottomless pit, as they do the spiritual battle. And in that space is what I'm saying. In that space is where the spiritual battle takes place. Why is this important? Why am I talking about this? I'm talking about it because, again, we are in this time, and it always has been since man has existed and been up under their current condition, and that which has been familiar, always has had to do this. But what the difference is now is that we have a lot more things to get into, a lot more things to get into. And we have compiled things up. We partake in a lot of things. And so, and the times are changing. We're entering into this new paradigm that I'm always speaking about. Some people call it the New World Order. And so, it doesn't matter to me what the label is. It is the the contents of it, of anything that matters. The label is necessary in order to just have that one word to define the whole concept. What word do you want to use for any given thing? It defines the whole concept. And that goes back when I was talking about, it depends on what your area of study is, what your field your field is, or your interest is, that each field or area has its own language and vocabulary. You must learn the language to that particular field. But when we start talking about the kind of things I talk about on my channel, it's difficult to do so because, number one, many people that may view my videos and others don't understand that we have multiple areas of study or interest or focus that we're dealing with simultaneously. And so it's difficult to narrow down one language to use because we have, again, multiple disciplines or branches of knowledge that we deal with. And so that's why you hear me say one word and say it in a different way. I do that over and over again because everybody has a different level of intellect or comprehension or everybody's vocabulary is different. It's different. So, and we have the language barriers. Talked about that. And so a person that speaks a language other than English may only understand certain words and not others. So I try to, offer multiple words for a single word or idea in order to get the message across or to try to make it clear. I hope that doesn't make it complicated. Anyway, I'm going to move on. I've really been talking about my channel as a tarot channel, and what do I do? Do I choose to just read tarot? Understand when I clearly understand that this thing, this whole study, this whole experience is greater than tarot, and it's serious to me because this is it's the world that I'm talking about. It is our reality that I'm talking about. It's not a fabrication. It's not made up. It's not imagination. It's not creativity from the perspective that most people think of it as. No, this is the reality in which we sit. And in this case, in the reality that I immediately sit in, again, in all my experiences and studies and interactions and just everything that I've ever been exposed to. And so, is it important to move forward? Because the information that I'm getting the reason why I guess I'm so concerned after 53 minutes and 47 seconds is because it's getting real deep. It's getting deep. And it's going to be intense. And I'm talking about the information. And so, another thing I want to talk about is, I got papers everywhere. I wanted to talk about that, but I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to do it. Let me see if I can go there. Right here. It's like WTF explanation. WTF. What do I want to say? It's interesting how when I turn the camera on, every thought goes away. It flees me. Where am I? Where am I? What was I going to rant about? Yeah, I talked about the exact same thing over and over again for 50 minutes to 55 minutes, so I don't even know what I was going to talk about. But I find it, I find again that I'm irritated because of the stuff that I'm seeing. And it's like, if the people that created American Horror Story have to have been working over the stuff for the last 2 or 3 years, I mean, I knew, but and I just didn't present it. I didn't know how to, and what I did was just follow the stars in order to, know when to release stuff or to talk about certain things. But I'm like wondering, well, like, what good is it going to do for us, for the general populace, for me primarily? Y'all know who I am. Y'all know I'm self-centered and egotistical. Y'all always hear me say that. What good is it to know now? Why? For what purposes? What purposes? Because it just seems like the truth was shrouded, or it was contorted. The truth was contorted. It was always out there, but it was contorted. In some ways, it was shrouded. And so, again, the general populace wasn't educated to have to think that they had to solve a puzzle in life. No, that would be absolutely ridiculous. But the truth of the matter was, it was always there, ready to be solved. And there were some that were solving it, but most were not. And now we're on a particular course, due to the actions that we've taken individually. And those individual acts have contributed to the overall of the collective. And so we're on a particular course. And so I just wonder now, based on me following the step-by-steps instructions of the stars, the releasing of the message or of the revelation, like the Bible speaks of, why now? Why do we know now? Why didn't we know some years ago when, again, we possibly could have made better decisions, been more, at least more conscious decisions about this world. We took it for granted. I wanted to go deep, and I wanted to talk about, I talked about the fall. I talked about the fall. There's other stuff that I even have written here that I wanted to talk about. God dang it. It's just been everywhere. I guess I'll talk about this. Do I want to talk about this, or do a video for it? Make a content about it. This is a whole nother content. What else did I want to talk about? It was a whole bunch, but I guess it fleed in my mind once again. What is it that we want? What is it that we want to know? And I guess right now, what I wanted to talk about more in depth and more deeply, when I say deeply, I mean literally me sitting up here tapping into, into all that is divinity and the ethereal realm, just tapping in here while creating this video, is that I keep wanting, my mind keeps wanting to come back to the physical, but no, that's not where we are. We're not in the physical. We are literally in the physical, but what's highly active is the spiritual realm is highly active. I wanted to talk about the spirits within us and how that was another thing. That was another thing they talked about in that American Horror Story. I was just been binge watching. I'm about to go back and finish binge watching. I was just thrown back by it. But it talked about the spirits within. And I when it said it, I was like blown away, because again, I come on here, I talk about it, but people don't be taking things seriously. Talking about the spirits that dwell within an individual or any given individual, and what those identifying what those spirits are, so that they don't control you, because humanity, it seems, has gotten to this place where they don't know themselves, their soul. Oh, the soul. I'm gonna say something about Jim Carrey. I mean, their soul, in relationship to other entities that dwell with them. They don't know the difference, and that's important to come to understand, especially at this time period. Especially since we're going to enter into, if we stay on this course, that purple panic that I speak of, because those various entities that are so seamlessly within us emerge and take control of our vessel and become the commander in chief of our vessel, will govern what we will do and what we will not do. And you got to always remember this, that if one of those, we'll say, kind of foreign entities takes or sees command of your individual vessel and leads you to do whatever it wants to do in its own interest, your soul is still seated in this physical body and will pay that penalty, the penalty for whatever the transgression is against this world or whatever is in this world. And see, that's a danger again, that we don't even know that there's some things that are seamlessly within us. And I just found it so interesting when that American Horror Story stuff brought it up, because I've been talking about that a lot more lately. Again, I do have a concern about losing my viewers and be like, this mother sucker crazy. She's too far gone. She's too intense. She's sacrilegious, for all possibilities. I would like to kind of hold on to my channel so I can have some folks to speak to. But that's another concern. And it's about learning to identify them. But the very first thing that is really, really important is to know yourself. To know yourself. And I'm going to end this rant because I ain't going to be able to think of the spiritual stuff. I should have been writing it down, but I wasn't, because I was in there. Before, when I started this video, I was in there, and I kept pulling myself back from going in there and talking from in there, because I didn't want to come off, too gone, y'all. And again, lose your interest or y'all, what is it, patriotism, that kind of thing. And so I'm out of there, and I lost it, and as soon as I probably turn this thing off, and as soon as I start watching that movie, I'm gonna get back into it, because that American Horror Story just like triggered me, like wow. And so I was talking about ranting, getting to know thyself. Y'all hear that everywhere on YouTube. I see that everywhere. You must know yourself. You must know who you are on a soul level. Understanding that your physical vessel is merely a manifestation of the soul within, the state of the soul, and the other entities that are within help to create your appearance or your handicaps or your speech. They, like you hear some say, like if you have Venus in the third house, you can have a smooth voice between the second and the smooth, soothing voice, seductive, sensual. Now that is a force outside of oneself, but there's also those things that dwell within that help to determine your stature and things like that. And that's just the physical part. Again, that's more simple. And I wanted to talk about those beings within. And this was something else I wanted to cover, but I put it down, is about the spirits within. You can tell, I see I'm going into something that I want to go, but you can tell they have character traits or little quirks that are made known on your physical surface of your body. Whether it's the way you smile or your lip curls at the end, the pupil in your eyeball or things like that. You know, you can tell where there is other things that is a difference. It is a difference. And then what am I saying? I'm saying as human beings, we've begun to move so quickly and we don't acknowledge or recognize that which is ethereal or spiritual when it comes near us or sits with us or is in our immediate proximity. And it's easy to tell because what I'm talking about is something that you can't wipe off a person. It radiates from inside of them out. And we are under this, I don't know what to say. Be like, for instance, we can wear wigs and hair and makeup and we can do all those things. We can put on all those bells and whistles. However, it never carries the energy. It never has the energy signature attached to it. Like, how do I say? It doesn't have it cannot sustain the energy signature nor execute the powers of the spirits that I talk about. So that's one way to identify if you have residing spirits or entities. To be, that's why I want to go in detail. But, it's a lot to talk about. It's a lot of deep stuff to talk about. We can get real, real deep. Real deep. And that's like, how down deep do I go? Because I done stayed real, real surface level. And now it just seems like it's time to go deeper. Deeper. I mean, like submarine deep. And it could be with Scorpio, because Scorpio is about the subterranean, being submerged into the deep. Let's see. And so I was bringing that up. What was I talking about? I was talking about identifying when there is a spirit within yourself or another based on the physical traits or quirks that you possess. Sometimes a dimple may be there, next time it's not. Or a curl of a lip, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. Could be don't get me wrong, this could just be bad nerves, but your eye might jump, other times don't. Sometimes your eyelashes might be long, other times they're not. It's all kind of things. A woman may be more curvier at times, other times they're not. It's various things. You might have a limp sometime if you haven't been wounded or something, and sometimes it's not there. And so that is from a spirit that dwells within an individual, and it manifests on the flesh or in the flesh. At times that energy or entity is prominent, and that is an entity that walks with you in your life. Where I was parallel, I said, okay, don't get it mixed up with people that put on all the bells and the whistles and the makeup and different things like that and do the special cuts and highlights and airbrushing. That does not sustain any particular spirit or entity, and neither does it have the ability to execute and sustain that power for a long period of time. And that's important to know, especially in relationship to knowing yourself as well as who others are, and understanding how we are interfacing with each other and why. Now, another thing that I've noticed is I see it's interesting. Like I said, I don't want to lose my viewers or subscribers, but I seem to be quite a few people muses here on YouTube, and that's complimentary. However, at the same time, I'm not getting many views, and so it's like really, 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 and see the issue that I have with that is that I don't know what this is for them. I know what it is for me. I know what it is for me. And I'm human. So I'm trying to have resolve with it because I think it's a purpose to it. But go back in, Nancy. You was almost there. Another thing I want to talk about was Jim Carrey. And in the last couple of years, I think Jim Carrey had a what they call somewhat of a meltdown. Some people say he found himself as far as spiritually, you know, got spiritual, had a breakthrough. And I was thinking about Jim Carrey the other day. Well, I wasn't thinking about him; it came to me. And the issue was about Jim Carrey. What I heard was, hey, remember I was talking about know thyself. He can't know himself. I don't even know where I wrote it at. But what I can say, I'm going to tell you what I heard about Jim Carrey. And I bring that up again because it's related to knowing thyself. And what I'm trying to show right now is that there are different types of spirits or beings that live here in this physical world with us. And we are not capable, many of us are not capable of identifying who we are next to or who we are sharing this globe with. Now, Jim Carrey is just an example. Why that came to me, I don't know. Why it came to speak to me about him, I don't know. So, Jim Carrey is a wonderful actor. He played Dr. Seuss in, oh, I don't know what year it was. But he played, not Dr. Seuss, the Grinch Who Stole Christmas. Jim Carrey played the Grinch Who Stole Christmas, Dumber and Dumber, and how many ever sequels that was. Liar, Liar. He started off on The Living Colors. What else was Jim Carrey in? He was what was that movie? Oh, he was in that animated thing, like Christmas Carol. Jim Carrey been in so much stuff. Me, was it Me, Myself, and I, or something, and Carol or something. He been in so much stuff, and he's hilarious. And as mentioned in the last few years, he had a breakthrough or a breakup. Mentally, and so it was a lot of discussions and talks about Jim Carrey and his possible mental condition. But I think he said something like this, and I should have Googled it, but I didn't. I think I'll say everything is something, in something is everything, or everything is something is, but yet it's nothing. And so what came to me about Jim, why, I don't know, so I'm just sharing, because it's just coming in really, really strong, but it's all about spirituality, about the spirit. And so it was saying that Jim doesn't know himself. He doesn't have a base character. Do you have a base character? I got a base character right now in this body. Is named Nancy, and I'm familiar with his spirit. I'm also familiar with the spirits that reside within. I'm conscious of the influences outside, things like that. So, who is your base character? Who are you? I'm not talking about in the physical, but I'm talking about in the spirit. Most of us are grounded by that entity that is us, our portion of divinity. That portion right there, we are grounded into this earth. Jim Carrey does not have that, is what he told me. Since he doesn't have that, he never had it. He wasn't born with it. And so in the course of his life, he has moved through and played these various characters. And this is the crazy part. Each one of those characters, it said that Jim Carrey knows the whole story in detail of each one of those characters' lives, their beliefs. He knows everything about each one of the characters he played. I don't even know how many characters he plays, how many roles he's played. But what I heard is he knows their lives. Now these are fictitious characters, we think, but Jim Carrey, his soul, which has no anchoring, grounding identity, individualized identity, was made to jump from vessel to vessel or character to character. In the moments that he plays those characters, he knows everything about them. He has lived their birth, their childhood, and whatever else has brought them to that place in that storyline. He is them all the way. There is no spirit Jim Carrey, not anchored, not individualized from the divinity, no. But he is. capable of jumping in multiple vessels, scenes, skits. And the catch that I'm trying to articulate or make it make sense here is that this man, as he was these characters, and he's lived their whole lives and know who they are in detail, in the intricate details it is impossible to know about another. He knows this about every character he's ever played, including the Grinch, who we know is a fictitious character. But he understands Grinch from every aspect, not because he studied them. No, he is embodies the spirit of those characters. Remember this, there's nothing new under the sun. And so Jim Carrey is an example of a spirit that has no anchor into this physical realm, in this physical world, in his body. He doesn't have anchor. And it jumps from avatar to avatar to avatar. But it cannot find any solace or peace in like, after he finished doing his job, go home and sit in his own vessel and be himself. There is no individualized Jim Carrey. And what was it saying? It was saying that, could you imagine never being at home, never being anchored, but having all of those lives? Like some people talk about past life, having all those past lives within one life, but never, and understanding them in detail from every aspect from birth on, but never having your own soul grounded. It says something about a wandering spirit. And the reason why Jim Carrey is who he is, free to jump from avatar to avatar, is because it's like possibly you and me, how we have this grounded state. We are so familiar and united with our vessels, our reality, our physicality. We're grounded in it. That it's going to be difficult for folks like us to let go. Let go. Because all we really realize, all we really know, all we really remember is this one vessel, this one place, this one anchoring. What Jim Carrey, on the other hand, represents how the fluidness that we should have. See, he doesn't have what we have. He needs a little more what we have. We don't have what he has. He has this fluidness where he is all things, but yet he's nothing at all. And I should have looked up that scripture. I mean, that not scripture, that when he said something like that. And because I was wondering why, it was yesterday when it came to me, I was sitting over there, just descended down on my right shoulder, and it started talking to me about Jim Carrey. Why? I don't know why, but I'm just sharing because obviously it was important. And it was just this fluidness of not being possessive over his vessel and not having the ability to release. It also had to do with not or having the ability to be empathetic to others and understanding of others because you've been in their shoes. See, he ain't got his own shoes, we can say, to stand in. He can stand in every variation of shoes but his own. Therefore, he understands in detail the whatever a person has going on, whether it's egotism, suffering. He has all of that. In a way, it is a gift and a curse, which Jim Carrey deals with. Why am I talking about Jim Carrey and the situation which I'm talking about? Is because it has to do with who we are, and again, where we are, the path that we are on, and it goes back into individual superpowers and abilities. And what is it about? Don't lose it. So, Jim Carrey, it's a blessing and a curse. You know, the blessing is for us. It's for humanity. I just did an 11-11-11 video talking about Michael Jackson. And now I'm talking about Jim Carrey. It's a blessing and it's a curse. Just like with Michael Jackson, it was a blessing and a curse. Oh yeah, this is another thing that I've been getting messages about. Is that I don't know what's wrong with mankind or womankind or humankind. But we've been so far removed from spirituality that we can't see or we won't allow ourselves to see. And right now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about the fact that a human can be excellent, but they can also be a sinner. Like Michael Jackson, many folks praised him and thought him as a god. He was a man, most likely seen doing something. Even if it wasn't what he was accused of, all those accusations, he did something. He was a man. He in the flesh. Heck, if it wasn't nothing but pro or overworking, he did that. You know, but nevertheless, he still had a powerful contribution into society and the mind frame. A little bit more about Michael Jackson. I failed to mention in that live stream about another gift that he gave, which we all know of, we all partook in, those that did anyway. And it was the beat of his music. All his music created a vibration to want to dance, to get up, to uplift. It didn't matter what song it was. If you'd be somewhere, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's Michael. You got to get up and dance. And it was to get you up moving. And it's almost like to celebrate this moment right here, right now. No strings attached. And so going back over to Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey is a man. He is with sin. What they say, no man in the Bible, no man is without sin. He is with sin, but at the same time, he is a contribution. Has a contribution to this world. He done made a lot of us laugh many, many times. Almost laugh till you shit your pants, But at the same time, just like Michael Jackson couldn't go outside. He would be mobbed, raped, all kind of stuff. He just couldn't walk outside. That's a curse. Not being able to sleep is a curse because your mind constantly processing. Jim Carrey, same thing, mind constantly processing. I don't want to talk. Mind constantly processing over and over again, nonstop, nonstop, nonstop. Don't lose it, Nancy. Don't lose it. It was about, don't lose it. And so, I lost it. We are experiencing spirituality manifest in the physical. I repeat, we are experiencing spirituality manifest in the physical, and we don't realize it. A lot of things, there's a lot of, from what I understand from my life experience and what I've witnessed, there are people that are more proficient or more intelligent in our physical realm, and because they're intelligent or proficient in one or more areas, it gives them the upper hand over the rest of humanity, or those within the reach of their influence. And it is because they're not afraid to see the world for what it really is. They see the divine or the spiritual manifest in the physical, and they can call it out for what it is. They can break it down in scientific terms, all those kind of things. And what am I saying that for? Because this is important for us to, I do believe from what I'm seeing, advance. And the only way we're going to advance is by beginning to acknowledge what really is, what we're really seeing and what we really experience. We take everything for granted. We minimize it. When some things are large, very large. Like I said, could you imagine Jim Carrey? This person doesn't even have a anchor. Their soul is not anchored in their body. And they get to leap vessel to vessel, avatar to avatar, understanding each and every one of those characters that they play, but never knowing self or being grounded in self. Not never. And that's a nightmare. But then it's also a purpose. The purpose is not being, again, hooked in or affixed to one's individual identity, and being having a way to understand what it is to be another, and their struggles and things like that. That's a gift and a curse. Michael Jackson, gift and curse. Yes, he was a master. He was artful. He was skillful. He was powerful. But he never rested mentally. I don't believe Jim Carrey ever rested either. Too many roles, number one, based on what I was hearing. And so it's just this It's this loss of self for others. And I think a lot of times we don't realize what it means to lose yourself in for others or to others. Is it intentional? No. Is it intentional? Oh, who are you? Do you know you? I'm saying now, I'm jumping with that. With that being said, I want to jump to talk about, do you know who you are? And what am I talking about? Like Michael Jackson knew he was a musician, if nothing else. Jim Carrey knows he's an actor, if nothing else. But on a soul level, before they reached those levels of excellence, did they know who they were? Or did they know that they had a calling? Did they know they have a purpose? Question: do psychics that are really psychics know they're psychics? Do prophets know they're a prophet? And what I want to say is this is something else. Excuse me, I almost crossed effed me up in American Horror Story that they cover this too. And I've talked about this multiple times, coming from who I am and experiences I had in life. This is just an Aquarius rant. It ain't no order. You might not learn nothing from it. I don't know. But it talks about what I'm talking about right now is people are, some people make a claim that I am whatever you are. Say you are. I am whatever they say you are. They are. I am. They make these claims. But the reality is, based on my experiences and what I've seen, and then I just saw this in the American Horror Story. When I say this one almost floored me. You don't know who you are. You really don't know who you are. Now, what may happen is in this physical world, like Michael Jackson, Jim Carrey, you reach a level where you get accolades for your excellence. You do. You get accolades and awards, you know. You get an Oscar, an Emmy, a Grammy, and that in this physical world defines who you are. And if you can show that piece of paper or that statue to somebody, they're going to say you the man or you the woman. But the reality is, you don't know who you are, especially when it comes to spiritual work. It comes to spiritual work. It's almost like it's hands off. The proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding. To be able to really do what you do, to dance or sing like Michael Jackson, to move souls. So we're talking about moving the soul. That's the part that we're missing. Yeah, we could get out, jam, and do the funky monkey, whatever we're gonna do. But Michael did his thing, but it also moved the soul. This is something you can't see. Jim Carrey has moved people's soul, or to some degree, or he has shifted our conscious in a way that we have been able to experience multiple people. See, everybody ain't got popularity. So the plight of an individual may never be heard. But when Jim Carrey jumps into those shoes, embodying all of who that character is, even if it's fictitious, ain't nothing new under the sun. That entity exists here in this physical realm of that spirit. But Jim Carrey stands in as an intercessor or a representative for that spirit that don't have no popularity. They don't have no following. They ain't got nobody to look for him. And he played those roles. And it gets, again, it affects the social consciousness, and so but again, without those accolades and things, a person doesn't know who they are. Without they may have little inklings about who they are or their purpose or their calling, but it's not but straight up I am. I am. That's the physical world. I am. Spirit, there's no way a person can fully and truthfully 100% know they are. Number one, a lot of folks don't deal in the spiritual realm and won't even acknowledge it. Now, with something else I wanted to talk about, knowing now that you know, the question is, who are you? Who are you? Me, I'm a muse to a lot of folk, but I don't have the outreach. Who are you? Interesting. So this is a video I was going to do independently, and I just kind of want to hit on it here because it does have a lot to do with what I've been talking about relative to when I was talking about the spirits within, knowing yourself, and staying in control of your vessel. Understanding when you're dealing with others, you are not only dealing with them, you are dealing with the entities that reside within inside of them. At the same time, simultaneously, there are the influence of outside forces, whether it be a physical person or the entities that dwell in them, and or the we can say the more ethereal or the astrological energies that play out, and so much more. Y'all wouldn't believe just how much influence is pressing in upon us in this physical vessel. And so back to that. There's something that I want to cover, and I may cover it in a individual short video because this rant is already an hour and 31 minutes long. But I want to talk about the East, and I want to talk about the West. Now, I did start to write this out, and so I'm going to go here. And the person that I think wrote this quote or quoted this quote is George R. Martin. And the quote is from, I guess, The Game of Thorns. And it goes like this. When the sun rises in the west and sets in the east, she said sadly, when the seas go dry and the mountains blow in the wind like leaves, when my womb quickens again and I bear a living child, then you will return my sun and stars, and not before. I mean, that's real deep. But how many of us really contemplate on poetry? That's more like poetry to me rather than a quote. But okay, it's a quote. That's real deep. And again, it goes back into when I was talking about knowing yourself, and it was also talking about going back when I was talking about the purple panic that I foresee coming, which was also offered in this what's it called? A series I was talking about, the American Apocalypse, the American Horror Story Apocalypse, season 8, I think it is. And I've seen it in other places as well. It seems like a highly probable experience we will have based on the path that we are on. But I guess time will tell. But I read that quote because I'm talking about the sun rising in the east and setting in the west. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, but it's significant to what we are going through. And the one thing I want to talk about here is the Venus, because Venus is known as the morning star, and it also is an evening star. And if I'm not mistaken, it is then referred to as I think Saturn or Satan. But either way, I might be getting some stuff mixed up because I'm got a lot of stuff on the table and around the table and in my mind. But I'm going somewhere with this. That the East, what does the sun rising up in the East really mean? It talks about the rising or upcoming of something. And what is that something? The star, Venus. And so you got to know yourself. In the East, just the rising of the sun in the East says, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. With a focus on Venus as a rising, it talks about Venus as the morning star, represents the rising of the attributes of Venus into your life or upcoming in your life. Now, what is Venus? Venus is about just basically living a good life. What is it that you want? Let me satisfy you. Now, that same Venus star travels across the sky. First she come up in your life and she say, what you want? I know what you want. You want this. You want that. You want like this. You like that person. You want like this, like this. You get it based. Oh, this was another thing they covered in American Horror Story. It blew my mind. And I just talked about it too. Man, as I say, this is deep. This is so deep because I'm just jumping everywhere. I know I'm going to get lost, but I forgot about this part because when they said this too, I was like, wow, we know. We know. And I'm sitting up here looking like a dumb dork. Like, I was like, we know. We know what the hell am I open my mouth for? We got major series and other things talking about. We know. And it was talking about how Satan himself gives us what we want in a certain moderation. And that moderation is governed by your level of ambition, the vibration of your soul. So, yeah, Satan will come through, Satan, a fictitious character or energy, active energy, will come through and give you the desires of your heart based on your level of ambition or the state of your soul. If you got a low vibrating soul, it's going to come in and give you whatever you want on that low vibrational level. But if he come in and you are high vibrating, your soul vibrating high, when he come in, if he gonna come play with you and offer you something, he gonna offer you something equivalent to your level of ambition or your level of spiritual excellence. Excellence. And I also talked about that recently and how it's about your influence in this world that is also taken into consideration. But I want to go back and talk about the east and the sun coming up in the east with a primary focus on Venus, the morning star, talking about, hey, this is coming up. The offer is coming up. Now, the way I see it is Venus and Saturn are the same. You know, Saturn like this. Saturn is synonymous. Let me say Saturn in the middle. Saturn is synonymous with Satan, as well as he's synonymous with Venus. When the sun comes up, Saturn, which is Venus, comes up and offers you whatever desires of your heart you have, to the degree equivalent to the vibration of your soul. It gives you those gifts. It feels good. It's enticing. It's intoxicating. And as that planet travels across the sky, now this is symbolic. Life experiences unfold after you got the fur coat, after you got the Lamborghini, after you got the woman or man of your dreams, after you got the job, whatever it is that resonated with you in your soul vibration, you got it. Then you start living life experiences out with that stuff. And so you obtaining those very things affected who you are. It affected or will affect how others outside of you see you and relate to you. And you have to make your decisions based on all of that new criteria. And so all of those experiences happen. Then it's time for the descent of that star, of that planet, which we're talking about Venus. Now it becomes the evening star or Satan. Now, what is Satan synonymous for? Well, I think we all know that. But that evening star is about the outcome or the fall. Remember I was talking about the fall? The fall? When I going back to the fall, the sunken place. Venus could come to offer you something that you want that leaves one. I was talking about drugs, on the drugs. And you had a whole experience of, thinking you so favored or so blessed because Venus came and bought you this, even though you don't know it's Venus. The devil in a red dress, or whatever you want to call it. But then it's the fall. Then it's the addiction, and literally that fall I was talking about. And why am I talking about this? Because in the middle, as you're going through the experience, it is about knowing yourself, knowing who you are and all your internal team players, knowing what they're capable of or what they want and how to keep control of them and not to feed them because they'll jump in the driver's seat and make the decisions for you. It is about knowing yourself, what you're dealing with and what you're capable of, what you will do and what you will not do, and why you won't do it or will do it. knowing yourself is so important as these various transitions, I'll say, happen. Because these are the things that change the course of our lives. And we don't even know they exist. Whatever I've been talking about in this rant, I'm talking about starting to go a little deeper, a little in the more abstract, the abnormal, the going into the metaphysical part. I must say I do have another channel, and it is called Heaven's Vital Fire. I shared that I had that new channel earlier this year. I think I got 73 subscribers. I've been waiting for it to build up, so I'm gonna make the announcement again. I have another channel. It's called Heaven's Vital Fire, and over there, that's where I want to begin to talk about these more uh, abnormal or out of the ordinary or more supernatural kind of topics. Again, I'm not trying to scare anyone off or lead anyone into partaking in to something they don't believe in. But I feel compelled to go deeper, to go deeper, because it seems what the messages that I'm getting is like it is time to reveal this world. We have had a veil on for hundreds and hundreds of years. And it is time to pull the veils off. Veils off. Interesting fact, I guess I can say, is back in the day, the old schoolers, and I've said this before here on my channel, the old schoolers believed that certain people were born with a veil over their face, meaning they can see the metaphysical part of life, you know. But I don't believe that's the case. I believe that they could see through the veil, through the matrix, into the metaphysics. Everything else was veiled. We know that now. Old schoolers didn't see it from that perspective, but we know now everything was veiled or shrouded or hidden or occultic or something like that. Now, we have begun to see, and now it appears that I'm being compelled to say, hey, Nancy, let's go ahead and move forward and dive deep. When I say dive deep, I'm talking about going ahead and starting pulling some of these other veils off. Why do I believe that I'm being compelled to pull the veils off of their various subject matters here in this physical realm? It almost seems like it's about for the general populace to come to understand what that the veil is there. That's one of the awakening, part of the awakening, that there's a veil overlaying certain things, most things, and pulling the veil away and exposing what's behind it. That is not unique. I've noticed, because others are doing it as well. However, I'm going to do my part and touch on the subject matters or areas that I am guided to do so. And it almost seems like that it is needed because of this ascension process thing we've all been talking about, and going to the fourth, fifth, sixth, whatever dimension, those labels. But you first have to see the master or the mechanisms within or behind the scenes, or the binary codes running the system, whatever labels you like to use. You must be able to see. Otherwise, it goes back, excellent movie, The Matrix, you'll just be in the program, whatever the new program is. Now, I must say this one thing I think I'm seeing clearly too, is that this is still going to be a program. It doesn't matter. I think the coding is changing. The coding is changing. Is that something I have been told directly? No. But all of the information or the evidence that's presented show that this is an encoded place, and the code is being changed. And so the code is being changed. We use the terms new world, old order, new paradigm. How do you want it to be defined? We get a vote. Our vote does matter. In this case, your vote does matter. How powerful are you? Are you really going to execute it? Do you know who you are? Do you know your power? Do you know other people's power? And so we're coming to come to understand all that, and it's also about us getting to this place of purpose. And I do believe that I really hope so that I'm able to live long enough to see this. I want to see it. Oh, goodness, when I said that, my mind went somewhere else, and it started thinking about a biblical story. Who was that Moses led the people out there? He didn't get to see the promised goddamn land. I want to see it. I want to know it's real, because am I? How do we know? Am I? How does any individual know? Are they? That's a hard one to guarantee. It's a hard one to guarantee. But and so we're moving forward into this new paradigm. What is it going to look like? What is it going to consist of? What are the rules and regulations? But why is this important? I'm going to say this and then I'm going to end this. Why is it so important for people like myself to pull the veil down and have you see what was presented to you, see the fronts, the face, the facade, and also see the mechanisms or the binary goals behind it, and to show how that system was working, and it was a face or overlay or a screenshot or however you like to label it in front. It is important for us, humanity, to come to understand the current, because see, we familiar with this system that we are coming out of. We familiar. We know it's like back our hand. It's second nature to us. We take it for granted. And so it's number one, it's the shock. Like, really? That's what was going on? You mean what? What I was looking at wasn't really what it was. What I was being told really wasn't what it was. So it's the shock. And then it's the whole thing is, this is some of the best inventors are people that go in and break things down in order to rebuild them back up. Same concept here. While still in this paradigm, still having access to it, go into it and see it, all the five mechanisms or the machinery that made it work, and how it was held up in the props and everything, so that when you move into the new paradigm, you are not a sheep. You're not oblivious to what's taking place as a new structure is being, put in place. You will be an active member in the construction of it. But if you move from the old paradigm, in which you don't even know how it got there, you just roll with it, got familiar with it, and you just accepted what was handed down to you from the last generations and made it work for you, but then it did whatever it did, or outcomes whatever it was, and then you go over into the new one, the same thing is going to happen. And this place, it seems, it's not just about a select few making the decisions for the rest of humanity. We all know, but we're gonna, in a way, we've been bamboozled, confused, perplexed, and puzzled. We couldn't see, or we couldn't understand what we were seeing. We didn't think it was possible or true, or these things were capable of happening. And so all this must be revealed, because again, entering into this new phase, you get to walk in clear-sighted, if you will. But we dealing with a whole lot of things, and that's a whole nother thing about diving deep. And I think that is why it seems like I'm getting information about diving in deep, as far as when you hear me talk about the spiritual beings and the entities within. I want to talk about spiritual beings or forces that are within, so that we can identify them not only on ourselves but on others, and understand the significance that those entities play. I also want to cross-reference it with, now I'm seeing it again in a lot of films. Other people are doing videos about different things like this, and talk about how or why these forces are important to be aware of, and how, again, to stay the steward of your own vessel, and have those entities work with you and not against you, or to understand who you are in relationship to the forces outside of yourself, and understand why you may face more challenges. Understand what my whole point is. It's all about pulling the veil back. Another aspect of removing the veil of things that exist in this physical world are to completely see the spiritual beings, entities, and energies. It's not just about what we can say binary codes and different things like that. There are a lot of backup systems that have been in play. And those backup systems, how can I say, those backup systems are going to stay the same. This is another thing. The backup systems that will exist in the new paradigm or the new world order, or however you like to label it, are the exact same entities and influences. However, their disguise, we can say, is going to change now. They may be a little more suave or sophisticated or a little more superior, or it's going to have this tinge to it, this social tinge to it. It's socially tweaked by the times and the trends, but it's going to be the same entities. And so right now it's saying, hey, get to know who these beings are while you're familiar with them. You know them. You've been dealing with them, some folks, for 50 years, but don't know what is behind the scenes. You've been merely looking at this vessel. It says now that you done dealt with them, you done kicked with them, you done ate lunch with them, you done slept with the enemy, you done did all this kind of stuff. And you know them physically, but know them from inside. Understand what you're working with. Because I'm saying entities is on this side going to be the same thing that governs, empowers the new paradigm. Again, with that little social tweak or tinge or social, what they call spark, the trending spark is what they will give off with a new covering. And so, anyway, did I finish the thing about the Venus, the rising and falling? You know, the rising and falling. I just want to make sure I finish my thought rambling. Rising and falling, again, that's important because you have to know yourself in the midst of it. You have to know who you are, what's inside of you, for the purpose of what? You got to navigate that experience between the offering and the outcome. The offering tweaks everything, it changes everything about you and your situation and your circumstance. Now, that offering that you give, them gifts that you get from Venus, can be anything. You don't have to take a king's seat. Some people don't want a big throne with rhinestones. Some people just want a little lazy boy chair to say they're a king. Venus gonna get them that. Some people might just want a refrigerator full of beer, and that's it. Others want champagne. Others want to travel the world. Others might just want a wardrobe full of clothes. They might want to go to the thrift store. It depends on what level you are on a soul vibration, and your level of ambition that helps to govern the gifts that Venus brings. But then there's that experience right in there between the rise and the fall. You must know who you are. Again, the entities that dwell within you and how y'all can work together for you to make the best decisions possible for your growth and evolution and protection. And understanding that those gifts, whatever they may be, tweak your circumstances and situations considerably to it really changes the outcome. It seasons the outcome completely. And another thing, that outcome on the other side, the fall, that side, the final outcome associated with all that rising and falling, they have a baby. They had a baby. Everything is birthed to something, the rise to something. And it's kind of represented when you start talking about the number 10, but actually I think it's like the number 11. We just did 11, 11, 11. And it talks about the birth of something. In Michael Jackson video, when I did it on 11, 11, 11, it's the contribution into the world and what the outcome will be, what we're going to do with it. It's going to birth something. It's going to birth something. And so what am I saying now? I'm seeing I'm still getting signs that it is about, in our individual life and globally, it's more than just the outcome of what may happen. It's going to be the birth of something, the development of something, a whole separate entity. Like, I'm going to give you an example. Like I said, we're moving from the old paradigm into the new paradigm. The same entities and spirits that have existed in the old paradigm, our current paradigm, are going to be the same ones that exist in the new paradigm. They're just going to be a little more fancy and trendy, bumped up. You got to bump up. And so that old a physical, a facade of the old paradigm is going to dwindle away or turn to dust. It's going to decay. We have this new face, this new front, same old entities, updated or more socially adequate, and so there's going to be those experiences in that new paradigm, whatever it is, and however it is defined, and that mix of that experience when it's established, that mix, whatever it consists of, whatever the rules are, however it's organized, those all of that blend that is going to create its own baby, its own offspring. So we're guaranteed that whatever is settled in, like I'm gonna say, what could be our when we move from the old paradigm into the new paradigm can have humanity working toward technological advancements that in the threat of hunger and health for all, and again, is this universal generosity that is evenly distributed, bringing back that heavenly state that I always talk about, getting close to it. We can have that if we want it. It's going to have an out that if we work toward it, it's going to have a baby, an outcome. I see it in another video. I see some faults even with the heavenly state, but whatever that, when it's all in place at the end of that shift, the establishment of that new shift, whatever that end is, that's the baby. Whether it is truly a state of heaven, a state of heaven that is has its flaws, its serious flaws, and or we can do the works in the new paradigm and create a structure in which kind of is challenging and it's unbalanced, unequal, and we can go through war, we can go through a whole bunch of stuff, and then end up being like, I'm gonna end on this: the American Horror Story. It can end up in the apocalypse. That's the baby, and that baby will grow into something itself. Anyway, thank y'all for coming here to Can Angels Fly Tarot and allow me to rant to you because I had a lot on my mind. Now I'm about to go back. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to go back and finish watching this American Horror Story so it can make me more upset. Oh, because we know.